Hello, what's up everybody? How are you doing? Welcome to the Nigerian Nomad channel. For you guys that are new, my name is Bayo Adio and I am a second generation Nigerian American, and I currently just vlog about my own personal journey in rediscovering Nigeria as an adult. So a lot of my content is all about people that want to create a second home in Nigeria, people that want to move to Nigeria, people that want to invest in Nigeria, and all those type of things. So I talk a lot about lifestyle here, I talk about food, I talk about things to do, places to go, and also general living things like how to open up a bank account, how to open up a business, how to enroll your kids in school, the differences, and just teaching people how to maneuver their transition to Nigeria. So yeah, so if you are interested in learning about Nigeria and the lifestyle here, this is the great channel for you. If you're second generation Nigerian American or Nigerian UK or Chinese, wherever you're at, and you want to learn about your ancestral land, this channel is also good for you. And for my Niger parents out there, if you want to maybe your kids have never been to Nigeria before, and you want to share a little bit about what Nigeria is from my perspective, this is also a great channel for you to recommend to them. So today is more of an informal, chill video. I just want to have a conversation with you guys and share my thoughts and opinions about all the craziness and action that's going on in Nigeria. I'm sure you guys are watching the news, you guys are seeing there's so much going on. Obviously, the biggest one is the presidential election, which, my gosh, I don't think I've seen so many people so engaged to a presidential election in Nigeria as I have this year, or maybe because I'm also paying more attention this year. But yeah, it's crazy, and the amount of young people that I've seen pay attention to politics now it's amazing. This is a good thing. So that means we're on the cusp of a change for a better Nigeria, because a lot of people are stepping up to want to be a part of the process now, rather than just sitting back to complain. Now they're actually taking a proactive effort to change, which is amazing. Also, there's even more craziness going on in Nigeria. This is like the big one, but then there's also fuel scarcity, which has happened off and on. It's not new to Nigerians, but the cumulative of the things that's happening now, I think, is pushing people over the edge. It's crazy. Now we have cash issue, which they just wrote out a new policy about having your old currency not be a legal tender anymore. Now you have to turn in all of your cash to the bank, or it's going to become useless. And then a lot of citizens are doing that or done that. So now they can't even get the new cashes out, which is causing a whole bunch of drama. Now there's some people hoarding cash. Some people are taking advantage of the opportunities. This is what we talk about in leadership. This is my challenge sometimes with Nigerian leadership, is that sometimes I see why they're implementing an idea, and sometimes there are good ideas, sometimes there's good intention behind it, and I'm using the word sometimes, but the implementation is usually always so poor because they try to implement it quickly. And they also are implementing it without looking at the full picture of the current state of Nigeria, which is do we have the infrastructure to support this new direction that we're going? But anyways, there's a lot. I can probably talk for hours about a lot of the things that's happening. But today, I really just want to spend the time to talk about the presidential candidates that is presented right now in Nigeria that people are wanting to vote for. And I want you guys to share your opinion in comments below. I just want to share my opinion about both candidates and what I've gathered so far. I don't know if a lot of this is factual as much as it is perception and opinion. And I'm sure you guys can comment underneath the video below where you think I've screwed up or where you think is good. But a lot of this is what I've heard, rumors, people's opinions, me watching these candidates, and then just trying to formulate an idea of like which is the better route to go for Nigeria. So yeah, so you guys can listen to my opinion on both of these candidates, and I also want to hear just generally what my followers are thinking in the comments below. I know this is going to be an awesome conversation, so if you got time, grab a bottle of wine, grab some soda, grab some multi-Guinness or some palm wine with some snacks, and then kind of chill with me. So I'm going to really be talking about the two front-running candidates to me. I know there's literally like 18 people running for the presidential candidate of Nigeria, but there's like 3 front runners really. There's like Atiku, there's Mr. Tinubu, and then there's Peter Obi. But I don't know much about Atiku, honestly. This lets you guys know how naive and how much I haven't followed politics in a while. But I did live in Nigeria for a short time, so I experienced some transitional changes like the Babangida era and the Abiola era. All those things were like kind of a big deal, and Obasanjo and all those people. But I am mainly going to be talking about the pros and cons and the similarities with Peter Obi and Tinubu, because they're the two that I have watched the most closely and that I think really the race is going to come down into. So it's almost like US. A lot of people run, but typically closer to the election, people pretty much narrow down like the 2 candidates that they feel like, okay, this is the 2 most likely ones to gather the votes, and then people kind of drop the others and they kind of focus on these 2. So I think right now it seems that Tinubu and Peter Obi is like the front-running candidates. To me, I try to, because I live in 2 worlds, so I live in US and I live in Nigeria, so I try to kind of see some parallel similarities to what's going on in both worlds and try to make sense of it in my world. But there's something unique happening in Nigeria. I think that this is very, very interesting. So I think in US, usually the predominant party is like Democrat, Republican, and they all have their own values that are different on how they want to serve the country and on their opinion. And I'm thinking that Nigeria's predominant party is like PDP and, what's the name of this other party? APC. And I think this happened in the last US election where there was a Democrat, Republican, and there was this Libertarian Party guy that was very popular, that people thought he was going to be a front runner, but then he kind of faded off. But we were all excited to kind of see what a third party person would do. He had different ideas. It reminds me of the Labour Party, to be honest. But it didn't quite work out, so it was still like a Democrat-Republican race. So with the US, with the Nigerian politics, I've been kind of paying attention to see if a third party would end up being the front runner. And holy crap, this is literally happening in Nigeria, where there's like a complete underdog third party and the big party that's kind of established are actually like front runners. So this is kind of causing very, very unique situation in Nigeria that's going to be very interesting. So let me talk about both of them. I know I've rambled, but this is just a general conversation for you guys that have time. So I want to talk about my perception and my opinion about both candidates and the pros and cons. But overall, to be honest, I feel like whether we end up with Tinubu or Peter Obi, I actually feel like the country is going to be in a better state than what it is now. I truly believe that with whomever candidate gets in the office, I think Nigeria would be in a better state than what it is. I don't think it's going to be worse. So that's kind of a general idea. So now let's kind of dive into the details. So there's pros and cons about these both candidates. And again, these are opinions and perception. I've learned that perception is reality. So I'm going to talk a lot about perception and how people are perceiving these candidates and my opinions on them. So we're going to start with Mr. Tinubu. I think that he has a lot of negative perceptions and reputation, but he also has a lot of positive reputations as well and perception. So some of the negative is that he almost represents to the young people that haven't followed politics for a while. I feel like Mr. Tinubu almost represents the old system, which is like, this is what people have been used to. And I think he almost perceptively represents that, like, okay, he's a little bit older in age. And also people, again, are thinking that he implemented a lot of the corrupt practices that we see in Lagos, with the Agberos and all of these things. People call him a godfather. People don't know the source of his wealth. People have all types of stuff to say about him. But his health is mainly the biggest one. His age and his health is the biggest concern for people. So I think those are the negative things that follow him. And to be honest, I don't think he's good at campaigning. A lot of times when I've watched him, he's usually like abusing someone or defending something, but I haven't really actually seen him come up and talk to the people with his plan on what he wants to do and how he's going to do it. So I'll say all of those is definitely very negative perceptions that I have about him. So I would say that because he's old, I think a lot of young people just see him as like he's part of the old system, he's part of the corrupt system, he's part of the system that everybody is frustrated with now, and they want something new. So I think that's kind of why he's not gaining much traction with the younger people. Now, some positives about him that I've heard, again, I have no factual evidence of anything that I'm saying. These are just perceptions and opinion. Is that I think one thing that he's riding on is Lagos, I think. So I think a lot of people have the belief that he contributed a lot to the democracy process of Nigeria, in terms of how politics works and voting works and more than one party system. But a lot of people really give him credit in like building the foundational systems of Lagos, Nigeria to be where it is now. So one positive things that people perceptually have about him is that he's a good leader. So a lot of the things that we talk a lot in Nigeria now, in Africa in general, is like leadership. For some reason, when I talk to some older people, they are of the belief that he is a great leader. And one of the things that I study in leadership, because I coach on leadership, I coach a lot of businesses. A great leader is somebody that can produce other leaders. So I think he has the reputation of being able to put people in the right places to get things done and to be able to also reproduce other leaders. Also, Lagos is one of the best states in Nigeria, in Africa. Definitely, easily one of the best states in Nigeria. And Lagos is a powerhouse, economic hub. Lagos is diverse. Security in Lagos is amazing, much better than other places. Infrastructure is better. Road networks are better. A lot of things are just better in Lagos. So people are thinking it's his foundational work that makes Lagos the way it is, and the people that he has assisted to put in power are the ones that's happening. So I think he is really riding on that reputation. So people want to give him a chance that, okay, if this is the guy behind the scenes making Lagos work well, like if he's able to accomplish what he has accomplished in Lagos, because we all love Lagos, what can he do on a global scale? Can he take that systems and replicate that on a bigger scale? So that is kind of like the positives with him. But I would say with Lagos, again, I don't know what's factual. These are just things that I've heard many people saying opinions, and a lot of people are kind of forming this opinion. But honestly, it took me a long time to figure out what is Mr. Tinubu's accomplishments, what impact has he made. I've Googled a lot, I've asked people, and they can never quite tell me straight what he has done. It's always kind of like, but I know that he has done something very impactful for the Nigerian country, that people really feel indebted to him for. But I just couldn't quite like pick like he did like this thing that was very impactful. So anyways, so I'm sure you guys can comment underneath my post if you know, because I want to learn. A lot of people want to learn. But the one thing that I'm very fascinated with Lagos, as we're talking about Lagos, there's like one thing that I feel like Lagos has done well. Security for sure, but one thing that I'm paying attention to is the continuity of the projects that Lagos is doing. So one thing that used to frustrate me before when I kind of travel to different places in Nigeria is that, you know, a new governor would come into power, they would kick off a project, and when a new person comes into power, they completely abandon, scratch that project, and they want to create their own new project. And when a new person comes, they scratch it, they want to create a new project. So there's like no sense of like continuity throughout the different changes of power, which really holds Nigeria back. But I feel like for some reason, Lagos has projects that has been ongoing for years, and the next person in power just kind of picks up the slack from where it is. The next person in power just kind of picks up the slack. So maybe there is kind of like a binding force behind all these leaders that's helping them stay on track with the vision of Lagos. Lagos has done a great job of attracting a lot of foreign investors. Definitely a lot of diasporas would prefer to live in Lagos. So I'm thinking that's what he's riding on. So that's what I have to say about Mr. Tinubu. That's his pros and that's his cons. Again, all opinions. I haven't found anything factual to like confirm or reaffirm. These are just opinions and rumors and perception. Now with Mr. Peter Obi, I think that his criticisms for him for sure is that, again, perceptually, people are not really able to pinpoint a lot of impactful things that he has done. Although I have read a few things about like the impact he's made in hospitals and education in his states and how he's been able to work the budgets more efficiently. So the challenge for him is that people probably feel like he won't be a good leader in the sense that he might not have as much back power as Mr. Tinubu might, in terms of getting people to, putting people in the right places and getting them to follow through, maybe. Structure is also another criticism that people have, that these big parties have a structure in place. And again, I'm kind of still learning a lot about the democratic system of Nigeria. I know like in US, the president actually doesn't hold much power. A lot of things still has to go through Congress. And they have all this balance of power structures in place. So one criticism for Mr. Peter Obi might be that he might not be able to make these radical changes that he wants to make if he doesn't have buy-in on a Congress level, state level, city level, in a way that he's able to kind of control the inner works of the community. Because I've seen it happen. I've seen that a president would have an intention to make an action, but because he's not there to execute it personally, you have to have some sort of way to track to keep people accountable that are the gatekeepers of making it happen. So I guess that's his criticism, I guess. And I guess that's really his own main criticism that I've heard about him. Some people feel like he's still a part of the system. What else? I'm trying to find some more con about him. I would say that's the main thing that I've heard, is that there's not going to be a structure in place, or that, he's not as experienced, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so that's that. If you guys have any negative things to say about or any con of why he won't be a good candidate, please comment underneath this video, because I want to learn and a lot of people that are watching this video want to learn. Now, pros for him perceptually is that he's a man of integrity. So I think because Nigerians have suffered with corruption and a lot of things, and a lot of people just not doing things in that way, they're dying for a leader that has a reputation of integrity. And I think Peter Obi brings that to the table. And a lot of young people, man, oh man, oh man, this guy is gathering a lot of attention. He's a bit more well-spoken. than Tinubu on the campaign. And I think he's much, much better at articulating his plans. And I try to watch both candidates with an open mind, to be honest, because I'm almost kind of impartial to both of them. But I sometimes lean towards Peter Obi, and then I sometimes lean towards Tinubu, kind of either way. But a lot of the times he's impressed me because I really try to pay attention to like not just like people's plan, but like how they plan to implement it. And when I think he's done a lot more sit-down interviews than Tinubu, so maybe he's had a lot more chance to be able to sit down and articulate his plan. Whereas the only kind of sit-down that I've seen fully was like the one Mr. Tinubu did in the UK. But a lot of the times it's just on the campaign ground. But I'd like to see him do a lot more one-on-one interviews. So like, and people can ask him questions, like citizens directly can ask him questions and to kind of pay attention to how he answers it. But I think he tried to demonstrate his leadership capacity at the UK interview by trying to delegate some of the questions to just kind of show that he's a leader that has people in the right places that can get the job done. But I think it might have backfired a little bit. But I think Peter Obi, on the other hand, he is very present. He seems like the people's person. He granted a lot of interviews, went to a lot of the campaign, talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people are just excited about him. So integrity is really like his big driving force. But, you know, he brought up some things. For me, I always think about the two things because I feel like Nigerians are resourceful and creative enough. Honestly, Nigerian people fascinates me. They can survive on their own. They can be creative on their own. But there's the thing that disrupts Nigeria is this major policy changes like the cash flow that really disrupts Nigeria. But if you give Nigerian citizens like security is good, infrastructure is good, I feel like that's really like mainly their need. They'll create their own jobs. They'll have their own entrepreneur. They will do their own thing as long as like, you know, security, of course, some sort of legal system that's fair and infrastructure. If the government can just like hyper focus on those, Nigerians would take care of themselves. So he had a good plan that when I listened carefully about his plan for electricity, he had kind of a good plan that I've studied because of my Green Paradise project. It's forced me to do a lot of studying about like self-sustainability and like renewable energy sources and power grids and all of this stuff. And one thing that he said was like, they're like issuing licenses for a lot of people that want to generate electricity to combine it to the grid. And it was like something I read about and I was like, yes, that's somebody that like has like a concrete plan, which would be amazing because it's like, I read something one time about people being able to like you can have this kind of grid, right? And then if you give people licenses to produce electricity, essentially like the government, the national grid can buy it from them and everybody can be contributing to this grid. And then this could actually create a lot of opportunities for people, whether it's through solar or whatever means of energy sources. And then the grid can now have enough power to distribute to kind of like the whole place, which is great. I don't think solar is like sustainable yet in a large scale, but that type of innovative idea is a good idea. Security, I've heard a few things about what he has to say. It has a lot to do with like having kind of one consolidated system and then like a lot of collaboration with the local and regional police force in a way that is cohesive. I think it's okay. But I've tried to really find Mr. Tinubu's plan and I couldn't. So I think that gives Mr. Peter Obi kind of a fair chance. And honestly, he's younger. That's like a big plus because I think people are kind of tired of like, you know, I think naturally people see the much older people as like part of the old system. They want somebody that's a little bit more younger, a little bit more dynamic, and somebody that can like understand the current state of the world now, which is much more technologically driven, definitely social media driven. They feel like Peter Obi is much more relatable to the youth. So I feel like a lot of youth are very, very excited about him. They also feel like he is going to do a better job economically speaking. to kind of balance Nigeria. So a lot of the times people are looking like, who do we want to represent us internationally when they're making these deals? Who's going to help with the exchange rate? And I feel like because of his frugality and his ability to manage budgets, people are really trusting Mr. Obi to do the job. So I think that's like pros and cons between both. I'm trying to find what else kind of is a positive about him. Some people feel like he's just more all talk, like he's a good marketer as a salesperson. But when it comes to the implementation, maybe he doesn't have as much, what's the word? As much, I would say as much to show in terms of how he's been able to turn something around. I don't know. Yeah, but you guys, again, this is a conversation. You guys comment below, let me know what you think. I think those are the pros and cons about both parties. But it's funny because almost everybody that I talk to is Peter Obi. But then occasionally there's this hidden group of people that are maybe not as outspoken. But when I talk to them, they are like all like, Tinubu must win. He is the leader that Nigeria needs. And some people are very convicted that Peter Obi is the leader that Nigeria needs. But either way, honestly, I think whichever candidate wins, I think would do a better job in terms of results. I think people would see. So we just kind of wait and see how all of this shakes out. There was something I was going to say. Oh yeah, but ultimately, honestly, I'm going to leave you guys with this. One thing that I really want, I want a person of influence to win. Peter Obi seems like he would have a lot of influence. Because Nigeria is complicated. The changing of the presidents is not going to change Nigeria in terms of our mindsets and the cultural shifts that we need to kind of adapt. They would be able to make an impact in a lot of lives if the security is better and infrastructure is better. That would make and they control our currency value. That would make an immediate difference in a lot of people's lives. But in terms of how we operate as a community and the sustainability and the growth, man, this is knee deep. Like a lot of people in Nigeria are Nigerian problems, not the leader. So if somebody has an influence to kind of shift people's mindsets in how we operate as a community, my gosh, that would be huge. So when I think of the right candidate, I'm thinking like, who would be the most influential in getting people to change the way they operate? Like I think of Obama, he literally got people to change the way they operate in the Black community in terms of how much pride they have individually and for their community and how much they want to improve things. But Donald Trump also was influential in kind of a positive, negative way. And what I mean by that is that when Donald Trump won, it literally forced people to think local, to think community. And I saw that a lot in Black people. So a lot of people just kind of forgot the president's seat and they literally started going back to community, the senator, the governor, the senators, the councilmen, councilwomen. They literally started focusing on like their own neighborhood, their own community, their own region, their own state. And a lot of positive things happened under Donald Trump because it's almost like people didn't like him so much. So they did what they could control. So maybe Tinubu would have that influence as well. I don't know. Or maybe he would be very influential for the citizens as general. We don't know. But I'm hoping that whoever comes to the president definitely cleans up the administrative part of things, which is a headache in Nigeria. Pays attention to the way they implement policies, increases security, increases infrastructure. And Nigeria is already a pretty good place, but with a lot of problems. But I think if Nigeria can overcome those problems, Nigeria would be one of the greatest places to live on earth. I'm optimistic. I believe in Nigeria, and I am just excited. I'm so excited for the election to be over. I want to see like what happens. I'm just so excited. I feel optimistic. A lot of crazy things are going on right now, and a lot of people are suffering. sometimes I'm just like, dang, how can so much suffering be happening? But in the positive side, I'm hoping that all of these things happening is literally like the frustration that people need to go and take action this time to go and vote and do what they need to do to get the right person in power that they feel is best for them. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that. I think the frustration is extremely high for a lot of people. If you guys watch one of my videos, I was saying that I don't think Nigerians are frustrated enough. Like, they're suffering, they're frustrated, but they're not frustrated enough to like take a step to proactive change. But I've changed my opinion on that. I think the frustration done they pass. Now that I think they are slowly stepping away from just only complaining and being a victim constantly to actually taking proactive action, to voting the right people in place to see change happen. So anyways, guys, comment underneath below. I want to hear some concrete things. What is positive about Tinubu? What is positive about Mr. Obi? What is a negative? What is a negative? Are you optimistic? What's your thoughts? What's your opinion? Anyways, comment. I just wanted to jump here and have a conversation with you guys. Anyways, if you guys want to learn more about Nigeria and the lifestyle there, make sure to subscribe to my channel. It's a great way to support me, and it's a great way to affect the algorithm to get the message more out. I am actually in Dallas, Texas here. I came to like a digital marketing conference, which is what I do. And you guys are probably going to hear more about it on the channel. And I will be going back to Nigeria again soon. So yeah, I don't know, very, very soon. So yeah, so I just wanted to just kind of jump on here and hang out with you guys for a bit. Anyways, guys, remember, it's your time to rise and let your light shine. Peace.